After spending some time developing a agreed upon way of conceptualizing Charles's problems and introducing the topic of willingness, the next place I would go with Charles is focusing on values. And one thing I can say about the ACT model is that there's not a certain order that you have to go in every time with every client. So there's some flexibility in terms of what processes you might focus on first. And typically values is somewhere in the beginning. And that's because with ACT approaches, we really want to know what the destination is. In other words, where are we going with any particular client, or what directions are important to them? And that has to be defined by the client and not me as the therapist. And so the idea of values in ACT refers to the meaning and purpose of life, or the things in life that make it worth living, the things we care about the most. And often when clients come to us, they're coming to us for help with anxiety or depression or some difficult emotion. And it's usually the case that struggle with that difficulty has taken them out of their lives or taken them farther away from a values-based life. And so for Charles, I want to know, what kind of life would he ideally like to have? What is important to him? And one exercise that I would introduce with Charles is what's known as the magic wand exercise. And I might give this as homework and discuss it with him during session. And so the first question on this exercise is, if we had a magic wand and we could wave it and get rid of all of your anxiety, all of your shame, all of your insecurity, what would you be doing with your life? Or how would your life be different? And often clients have trouble answering that question. It's a very difficult question to answer sometimes. So in ACT, there's different issues that clients can have with values. And one of them is just not being in touch with them. And so the magic wand is an attempt to clarify one's set of values. So Charles might say, well, if I didn't have anxiety and shame, I'd feel a lot better about socializing. I'd feel much more content or at peace. And then I would reply, okay, so if you were more content and if you didn't have any problems with socializing, what would be different? And the idea here is I want to steer Charles towards a behavioral answer to the magic wand question. And that's because values are really, from an ACT perspective, qualities within behavior. So clients might often say that their values are peace or calmness. But from an ACT perspective, those aren't as helpful. I would never tell a client, I wouldn't say to Charles, that's not a good value. But I'd want to understand if he felt confident or if he felt peaceful, what would he be doing with his life? So values such as, well, I would be more adventurous. I would go out and try new things. I've always wanted to try rock climbing, but I've just been too nervous to go to a rock climbing gym, right? And so curiosity or adventure or compassion, those are active qualities. In other words, they're things that we can be doing, behaviors that we have control over, and help orient to how we want to show up in our lives. And so the punchline to the magic wand exercise, which is often not a surprise to clients, is that there is no magic wand, that there is no way to get rid of anxiety or shame or whatever the problem or emotion might be. And so what would it be like to start living that life now anyway? Like maybe we don't need to wait for these things to improve. You've waited long enough. You've tried long enough. What would it be like to start moving in that direction right now? So that as we work on helping you manage these emotions, we're also not putting your life on hold any longer. And so that's a big piece of the ACT model. And I think maybe one way that it differs from other treatment approaches, that it's really about adding things in, uh, rather than just taking away things or controlling things like anxiety.